Hello everyone. It's wonderful to see you again. We appreciate your presence with us today. A captivating new tale awaits your discovery. Let us embark on this journey together. I am Damien, and this is the tale of how I unveiled the depths of my wife Bianca's essence and reclaimed the reins of my existence. I never imagined I would share a story like this. Yet here I am, revealing my heart because I know I'm not alone in this experience. I had faith in my marriage and in the woman I chose to share my life with. For 9 years, I believed we had built something unshakable. But life has a way of surprising us when we least expect it. After nearly a decade together, I thought I understood my wife completely. One thing she always cherished was a thoughtfully planned surprise. The little details brought her joy, and I had spent years learning what made her eyes sparkle. So, for her birthday, I wanted to create something truly memorable. Not just a dinner, but an entire experience. I took the day off from work and arranged for a professional chef to come in. As he worked his culinary magic, I prepared the dining area with care. I longed for the evening to transcend the ordinary, to embrace a sense of closeness and significance. Every detail was thoughtfully arranged, and I could envision her delight as she entered, her face illuminating with surprise. The aroma of the meal would envelop her, and in that moment, she would gaze at me with a look that conveyed the depth of her appreciation. As if to say, "You truly created this for me." I glanced at the clock, anticipating her arrival in just an hour. Everything was set, each detail meticulously arranged. Little did I realize that my well-intentioned surprise was on the brink of unraveling into a night I would never forget. An hour slipped by and still Bianca had not returned. It was unusual for her to be out this late. She typically returned around 6:30, sometimes 7 at the latest. I thought about calling, but that would spoil the surprise I had planned. Instead, I checked her location. Bianca and I had shared our locations on our phones since the early days of our marriage, a precaution for emergencies. But tonight, her location was showing a restaurant downtown. I found myself wondering if her colleagues or friends had decided to treat her. Still, I needed to confirm, hoping she wouldn't indulge too much and leave no room for the special meal I had waiting at home. I inhaled deeply and dialed her number, the phone ringing twice before her voice graced my ears. "Hey, babe," I said softly. Her voice was calm, carrying a hint of distraction. "Hey, are you on your way home?" I asked, keeping my tone playful. There was a brief pause before she let out a soft sigh. Not yet. Work is crazy today. I'm drowning in reports, and it seems like I'll be here for a while longer." A wave of emotion washed over me as I realized the truth behind her words. I found myself captivated by the place where she was. She was not in the office. Instead, she was at a restaurant, seated at a table, while I remained at home, anticipating her arrival with a meticulously arranged birthday surprise. I held back my emotions, stifling a small chuckle as I replied, "All right, no problem. I'll see you later." As soon as the call came to a close, I stood there, enveloped in a whirlwind of thoughts, each one vying for my attention, swirling together in a captivating dance. What should I do next? I stood at a crossroads, torn between trusting her words or seeking the truth with my own eyes. Every fiber of my being yearned to believe this was merely a misunderstanding, that any moment she would reach out and say she was on her way home. Yet, the silence lingered, and the call I longed for never arrived. With a heavy heart, I took my keys and stepped outside. The journey to the restaurant stretched endlessly before me, despite being just a few miles away. My thoughts swirled with a whirlwind of possibilities as I arrived at the restaurant. It was easy to spot her through the expansive glass windows. She was seated at a cozy table for two, but she was not alone. Across from her, a man I recognized instantly, her colleague, the one she had introduced me to at that company event months ago. The way they shared laughter and leaned in close to one another felt charged, as if their connection transcended mere friendship. Even if it was just a casual meal, I couldn't help but wonder why she would choose this place, so far from her office, to share it with him. It felt surreal, as if I were witnessing a moment crafted for the silver screen. She wore a smile that seemed to dance with the warmth of 1,000 unspoken words. Yet, I craved a final sign, a whisper of hope. I reached for my phone, dialing her number from my hidden corner. Her device glowed softly on the table, and for a fleeting heartbeat, I dared to dream she might answer. But instead, she merely glanced at the screen, a sigh escaping her lips as she silenced the call, turning it face down. In that instant, I became a mere shadow, an echo of something once cherished, as she returned her gaze to him. A quiet fracture echoed within me, a reminder of what was slipping away. I entered quietly, avoiding any disruption, just lifting my phone to capture a few moments before retreating to my car. The drive home was enveloped in silence, leaving me feeling hollow and adrift. In the dim light of the living room, I found myself staring into the void, time slipping away as anger simmered beneath the surface. Yet it was something deeper that lingered within me. I found myself adrift. What was I meant to do? Face her or feign indifference? I found myself in a whirlwind of thoughts, seeking someone who could offer clarity. In that moment of confusion, I reached for my phone and dialed Andre, my closest friend since college. He was the one person I knew would share the unvarnished truth, and as soon as he answered, I felt a flicker of hope. He sensed that something was amiss with Rob. "What troubles your heart?" he inquired with a hint of worry as I paused. But then everything poured forth. Andre remained silent for a brief moment before letting out a deep sigh. "I regret to bring this up, but the situation appears quite dire." He spoke with a weighty seriousness. "You can't remain passive. It's essential to understand the full scope of what you're facing before taking any action. Consider the possibility that this may have been unfolding for a longer time than you realize, or that there could be deeper layers to it than merely one dinner." I ran a hand over my face, feeling the weight of exhaustion. "What should I do? Do you need a private investigator? Someone who can provide you with the complete truth, so when you face her, you'll hold all the pieces, leaving no space for her to deceive or alter the narrative," Andre remarked as Gabriel finally entered, the clock striking past 10 p.m. I found myself sitting in silence, gazing at the dinner that remained untouched on the table. The candles flickered softly, their light casting gentle shadows over the plates of food that had lost their warmth hours before. I had envisioned this moment in a different light. Instead, she entered, letting out a heavy sigh as she placed her bag by the door. She ran her fingers through her hair, revealing a weariness that tugged at my heart, before locking eyes with me, her expression a carefully crafted mask of remorse. "Babe, I'm so sorry." Her voice trembled with a weight of unspoken remorse. Today at work felt like a relentless storm, the deadline suddenly looming closer, leaving me no option but to linger. I felt a deep ache at the thought of missing tonight. I sat there, absorbed in the moment, watching as everything unfolded with a grace that felt almost choreographed. The woman I had cherished for years stood before me, weaving a tale that was far from the truth, her composure unwavering. I simply nodded, suppressing the surge of emotion that threatened to rise within me. "Everything will be all right." I spoke with a calmness that belied the chaos of work, acknowledging the madness that sometimes envelopes us. She approached, her lips brushing softly against my cheek, a tender gesture that lingered in the air. I felt the urge to retreat, yet I held back. Instead, I offered a gentle smile and mentioned that I had saved some food for her if she felt hungry. She simply shook her head, claiming fatigue had taken over. Another untruth lingered in the air as she drifted into a serene slumber beside me. I arranged to meet with a private investigator the following day, driven by the need to uncover the truth about my marriage. If it was already fractured, I wanted to understand the extent of the damage. Over the next month, I struggled to maintain my composure while the investigator carried out his work. Each day felt like a delicate balancing act, as I navigated the complexities of my hidden reality. It was a challenge to rise each morning beside Bianca, sharing breakfast and listening to her speak of her day, all while masking the truth that lingered in the air. The private investigator moved swiftly, and by the second week, he had compiled a trove of undeniable evidence. Photos, videos, and timestamps revealing Bianca's secret rendezvous with another man I had once been introduced to as merely a colleague. Their encounters were not limited to hotels. They explored various corners of the city, cafes, bars, restaurants, and even parking lots where they lingered in her car for hours. It was a carefully orchestrated routine. Then, the final piece of the puzzle emerged. The other man was married as well. His wife remained blissfully unaware that while she devoted herself to their family, her husband was entwined in a secret with mine. The irony was a heavy burden. Two souls betraying their vows, living in shadows, and deceiving those who placed their trust in them. By the time the private investigator presented me with the final report, the weight of it all settled in my heart. I felt a sense of completeness, holding onto the tangible moments captured in photographs and videos, each one marked with precise times and places. It was a moment of undeniable power, a chance to unravel their lives, to shatter their careers, their reputations, their connections. Yet I chose restraint. Bianca was not just any employee. She held a unique presence within her company. She stood at the pinnacle of her career, a figure of respect and admiration. Yet, the thought of her connection with a subordinate, a married man, loomed like a shadow. If the truth were to surface, it wouldn't merely stir gossip. It could shatter her hard-earned reputation and career. The company enforced stringent rules against relationships that crossed the lines of hierarchy, and the potential consequences were dire. A whisper to HR could lead to demotion, termination, or even a lawsuit from his wife. Revenge was not on my mind. I sought a sense of empowerment, yearning for a fresh start that aligned with my desires. The proof I held was sufficient to ensure that as I stepped away, I would not be the one left to gather the remnants. No, I wanted to avoid the turmoil of drawn-out disputes. Harmony in financial matters. No false accusations against me. I had every intention of having her sign the divorce papers and leaving quietly. If she refused, I would ensure that every detail of her affair found its way to the right people. If Bianca wished to start anew with someone else, that was her choice. I finally held the power, and I was ready to embrace it. That night, Bianca returned home late, the same familiar routine playing out with her usual excuses. She entered, signed with a flourish as she placed her bag on the counter, and said, "You wouldn't believe the day I had. I'm drowning in work." I held back my response, allowing the silence to linger between us. For a long moment, I had played my part, nodding and feigning belief in her words. But tonight felt different. Tonight, everything was charged with unspoken tension. I had reached my limit. There was no longer a reason to continue pretending. I finally spoke, my voice steady yet resolute. I reached for the folder resting on the table and slid it toward her. Beside it, I placed a stack of papers, our divorce documents meticulously prepared. Bianca's expression shifted, her initial confusion morphing into something deeper, a flicker of fear. She looked at the folder, but made no move to open it. "What is this?" she inquired, her voice a soft murmur that lingered in the air. I leaned forward, our eyes entwined in a moment of intensity. "These are your two choices," I said, my voice calm and unwavering. "Sign the divorce papers and walk away quietly. No legal mess. No drama." I tapped the folder, sending it to your company's HR, your colleagues, and your lover's wife. Her face drained of color. She still didn't open the folder, but she didn't need to. She knew exactly what was inside. She shook her head, backing away slightly, as if trying to distance herself from the truth. "Damien, no, it's not what you think," she stammered. "Allow me a moment to share my thoughts." I remained silent, having absorbed enough deception. Her breath quickened, and her hands shook as she finally grasped the folder and opened it. Inside were photos, recordings, evidence that made the tears flow swiftly. Whether real or fabricated, it no longer mattered to me. It was an error of the heart. She wept over a foolish error, one that held no true significance. "It was never my intention to seek someone else in your place." I exhaled slowly, a soft chuckle escaping me at how predictable this moment felt. "I still love you," she whispered, stepping closer, her hands reaching for mine. "Please, Damien, we can resolve this. I will bring it to a close. I'll go to any lengths, just please don't do this." My gaze fell to her hands before returning to her face, and I instinctively withdrew my own hands. This transcends love, Bianca. I spoke with a chill in my voice. It's about respect, and you lost mine long ago. She remained still, her gaze flitting between me and the divorce papers. I could sense her uncertainty, her apprehension, not from a desire to mend our bond, but from concern over how this would impact her reputation, her career, her very image. I reclined in my chair, arms crossed, and urged softly, "Sign them, Bianca." I suggested we could take a different path, one that felt more challenging. Her lips parted, as if she were about to voice her thoughts, yet silence enveloped us. She sniffled, brushed away her tears, and reached for the pen, her hands trembling. But she found the strength to sign. When she set the pen down, her eyes met mine, filled with a final, desperate hope. "You promise you won't share this?" she asked softly, seeking reassurance that this moment would remain just ours. I nodded, hoping for a smooth experience without complications. She bit her lip, caught in a moment of uncertainty, weighing the truth of my words. There was no turning back. She had revealed her cards, and the game was lost. Just like that, what once felt like a lifetime together was now a chapter drawing to a close. She could not assume the role of the victim, nor could she lay claim to what was no longer hers. I failed her, and the weight of that realization was heavy. She had no way to protect herself from the pain, and that was what hurt her the deepest. It wasn't just the loss of me she was facing. She felt the threads of the story slipping through her fingers. She let out a sharp breath, brushing away her tears. "What do I tell people?" she finally asked. I shrugged, leaving the weight of the question with her. Bianca frowned, perhaps hoping for a tidy excuse to share with her friends and family. Something like we simply grew apart or had different aspirations. But I wasn't about to make it easy for her. She needed to navigate the delicate task of explaining how her seemingly perfect marriage unraveled overnight, all while avoiding the truth. And the best part was, she couldn't tarnish my name in the process. If she chose to weave a false narrative, I had the means to silence her instantly. Reflecting on it all, my vision has become more vivid and profound. It wasn't love that kept Bianca in our marriage, it was the image of being a married woman, the status it gave her, the stability I provided. She liked what we had, but she didn't respect it enough to be faithful, and that's the thing about betrayal, it forces you to see reality for what it is, whether you're ready or not. For a long time I thought losing her would be the worst thing that could happen to me, but staying in that marriage, that would have been the real loss. Staying would have meant living a lie, sacrificing my self-worth and letting someone else's choices define my happiness. In the end, I walked away with my peace. So I didn't lose. I may have lost my wife, but I took back my life. If there's one thing I want you to take from my story, it's this: trust your gut. If something feels off, don't ignore it. I had doubts, little signs here and there, but I brushed them aside because I didn't want to believe the person I loved would betray me. But the truth doesn't care about what you want to believe. It's always there waiting for you to see it. And when you do pay attention to actions, not words, people will say whatever they need to say to keep you where they want you. They'll lie with a straight face, just like Gabriel did, because words are easy. But their actions, that's where the truth is. Most importantly, never let someone's lies trap you in a false reality. I wasted time trying to understand why, but at the end of the day, cheating isn't a mistake, it's a choice, and I had a choice to either stay and let it break me or to walk away and rebuild. If you ever find yourself in a situation like this, know your worth. Don't beg for love, don't settle for betrayal, and don't stay where you aren't respected. You deserve better. Thanks for listening. Stay strong and always choose yourself.